places.
Okay. Good to go? Okay. I'll make a quick statement and I'll take questions.
So again, maybe in the middle of, yeah, thank you.
Right here, this good? Okay, sound level's good for everyone?
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So we had the announcement of a new federal cabinet today, and I think you'll probably agree that it's disappointing not to have representation from our city. However, I am encouraged that my office has already connected with the Office of the Prime Minister. We have a meeting upcoming with the Deputy Prime Minister. I'm looking forward to building those relationships so that the issues we're facing in our city can be heard and addressed. Obviously, I'm very interested in welcoming both the Ministers of Natural Resources and Environment to come to our city to understand the type of innovation and technology we're using in energy production so they can advocate on behalf of our industries.
Do you have any concerns with the name of who the new environment minister is?
Well, I would like that individual to come here. I would love for the minister to understand a little bit better about the way that we have evolved energy production and have some frank conversations with the sector to realize that Canadian energy companies are abiding by the strictest standards and outperforming everyone on the global stage in terms of being responsible producers.
Do you believe Mr. Hall's actions during the last couple days of the election, allegedly being, I guess, entwined with stealing potentially flyers, had any impact on today's announcement?
I have no idea the criteria by which the Prime Minister made his appointments, so I couldn't weigh in on that.
How does it affect the city and you as the new head of city government to not have someone from Calgary at the table on the federal cabinet?
It's disappointing to not have Calgary representation. I believe that our city is one of the most important in this country. So representation is significant, but as mayor, I know that I will work with council to make sure that we've built strong relationships with federal ministries and the Office of the Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, so that our needs can be well understood.
So you mentioned your upcoming meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister. Will you be meeting with Minister Wilson as well?
We will see what type of meetings we can get set up. It's only been a few hours since the announcement, so knowing the whirlwind we had transitioning and getting set up last week, I imagine those conversations will be upcoming.
What about with other ministers who have had direct involvement with the city in the previous term? I'm thinking Mr. Husson and some of the housing initiatives. How do you see that playing out, especially with his new role as Mr. Husson?
Yeah, Minister Husson did reach out immediately after I was elected, and we talked about childcare as a major priority for our city. I'm happy to see that he will be in charge of housing. That's another area that we really need to be focused on for municipalities in this province. So look forward to that relationship continuing. I'm encouraged to see Minister Haidu taking over the Indigenous file. I think it will be significant for her to understand the special concerns and situations we have with urban Indigenous people. And so again, I look forward to seeing some of that experience come to the table and building relationships with the new ministers as well.
Your Worship, can I just get your thoughts in regards to an incident, of course, yesterday in the Sea Society in Calgary? We know you've been sent out some tweets in regards to this incident, and unfortunately it's still happening here today in 2021. What are your thoughts to seeing something like that? And do you believe it has potentially any impact in regards to yourself along with Mr. Sophie being elected in Edmonton? Was there any correlation?
It's always hard to tell what motivates racist attacks. It's generally rooted in hate of some kind or another. It's disappointing to see actions like this happening in our city, and I'm saddened by them. But I am also very resolute that we struck an initiative to make sure that we become an anti-racist city. And I believe if you look at your brand new council, the one that Calgarians elected, we reflect our population and we will stay committed to being anti-racist. It's incredibly disappointing seeing that still. I am the child of sick parents. I know what it was like for my dad to be profiled because he wore a turban, and to see this kind of thing still happening all those years later is disappointing.
or pledge to declare a climate emergency, and he said he found that a peculiar priority, and he said that he thinks that the mayor of Calgary should be focused on creating jobs. So, what is your reaction to that? What do you have to say to him that statement?
I think it's important to understand that the mayor of Calgary, along with council, represents the best interests of our city. And we need to be focused on economic, social, and environmental resilience for our city. That is the focal point of every major corporation who is creating jobs in our city. We need to be in step with them in doing the right thing. The environment is absolutely one of the priorities.
How symbolic is that kind of a declaration as opposed to one that leads to concrete action? It might put people to think more about the issue, but is it symbolism or is it actually a call to action?
Symbolism doesn't get you results. When you pay attention to people like RBC, when they are releasing their economic forecasts and they are predicting that $2 trillion will flow into technology and innovation solutions for cleaner energy and the energy transition, those are the kinds of things I want to go after. I have been elected to make sure our city receives the capital it deserves, and that's how you go about getting it, by taking these things seriously.
You're also out. You're not moving forward with changing the thought. As that's one of the ones that really affects.
I don't know that Calgarians were all that interested in that question, and I think it shows. We're not moving forward with it. Let's move on.
That one, Calgary was very interested in. That one's now on council. But now sworn in, what's the plan for that moving forward now? When do we expect that discussion?
I've had a conversation with administration about fluoridation and the results of the election, and we will receive a report very early on in our council meetings to understand how we're going to move forward, whether we will take action. That will be an early discussion for council.
Mayor, can I ask you about there's this transcript of Councillor Chu, this disciplinary hearing you faced at CPS that's supposed to have come into the public domain. What are your thoughts about what you read in that 4-page document?
I have not read that transcript.
Well, let me ask you one question. But one thing that is in that document, and it says that the presiding officer said, I find it disturbing in the evidence presented by Constable Chu was his readiness to use police business cards, police pagers, and his police appeal to enhance his off-duty personal life. And it was for those reasons he was put into a training program related to ethics. What does that say to you about Councillor Chu's time as a police officer and his ethics?
What this says to me is that we are fixated on the perpetrator instead of the victim. We have a systemic problem where we don't take victims seriously, and this is yet another example of that. This is a child who then became a woman who has been fighting for years for justice and never got it. And people are outraged. We should be talking about the victim here and the processes that let her down.
In that document, the presiding officer said that her testimony did not weigh into her decision because it was inconsistent.
There are inconsistencies on both sides. Choosing to believe one side over the other because of inconsistencies is clearly flawed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're considering